Minutes after 4 p.m. Central African time. Now, Kenya's private sector activity contracted in the month of August, but at a much slower pace than the previous month. However, performances in the manufacturing and wholesale and retail sectors were not too bad, while the agriculture, construction and services sectors saw reduced outputs. The Stanbic Bank Kenya Purchasing Managers Index rose to 49.4 in August, and this is up from 46.8 in July. It does mark a modest improvement in business activity for the country. For more on this, we joined this afternoon by Christopher Legilisho, who is an economist at Stanbic Bank in Kenya. A very good afternoon to you. Welcome to Africa in Business.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for inviting me to the show.
It's an absolute pleasure. So perhaps let's take a look at the performances and the latest PMI coming out. What are the underlying factors that might explain the improvement of Kenya's PMI from July's low, that is last year's low, of 46.8 to 49.4 in August?
I would say we're seeing stability in the country. If you recall, the main drivers for why we saw declines in June and July was the fact that we had political protests in the country. And since the end of July, we've seen a bit of stability coming back to the economy, and that's quite favorable for business. Additionally, the central bank has recently been lowered the policy rate by 25 basis points to 9.5. And they have made improvements to just the risk-based pricing for credit. And so we expect that will, I think, encourage businesses to borrow from commercial banks, and that should help to stimulate growth in this economy. So the improvement for me generally speaks to the return of stability in the economy, and the hope that with lower interest rates, that the private sector will begin to borrow from commercial banks, and that will help to drive growth again in the private sector. I would point, though, positively, we have seen some improvement consistently, or positive expansion in the jobs market. While we did see overall output weakening, growth, at least, or stability in the hiring market continues to be sustained, and I think that's quite positive for overall sentiment.
What we're seeing here as well is manufacturing and retail. Those sectors are outperforming sectors like construction, agriculture and services. Why?
I would say those sectors previously were dented when we had a bit of instability during the months of June and July. So with the return to stability, you are seeing those sectors kind of benefiting from that. While the agricultural sector, I would point the decline to drier weather conditions over the last couple of months. Typically, the long rain season in Kenya begins in March and ends in May, and then you have colder weather in the months of June, July, and August. So why we're seeing that decline in agriculture, I think, generally is because of the dry weather conditions that we've seen across the country in those months.
I don't know what one can do as far as the dry weather conditions in trying to turn that sector around, but maybe let's look at interventions that could be put in place in order to turn the fate of construction and the services and maybe even agriculture. Maybe there's some innovative ways that these particular sectors can be turned around, as we see they have been lagging.
I think governments has made it one of their major commitments was that they're going to invest or encourage productivity, particularly in the agricultural sector. And what we've seen them do over the last couple of years is provide subsidized fertilizer to encourage farmers to plant more and lower the cost of for farmers in general. So that, we think, has worked. And as you rightly pointed out, there's nothing much we can do with regards to the weather. But I think cost of credit is something that is crucial with the policymakers lowering interest rates. I think that should also help to encourage at least investment. One of the reasons why we've generally seen a contraction or slowdown in the construction sector, particularly over the last 2 to 3 years, was because credit was expensive. So with lower interest rates, that should be quite favorable for the construction sector. The government as well has recently been paying pending bills towards roads contractors. We think that that will also help to encourage just a return to work. One of the issues that was holding back construction was the fact that government was not paying contractors, and now we're starting to see them address that situation. We think that that will drive growth in that sector.
Christopher Legilisho, thank you so much for that update on Kenya's PMI. We thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you as well. It was a pleasure for me to join you this afternoon.
Thank you. The pleasure was ours. That's Christopher Legilisho. He's an economist at Stanbic Bank in Kenya. He takes us to exactly 25 minutes after 4 p.m. Central African Time.
Get the news